With the recent shooting of Jesse James in Manchester, people are now asking, is Manchester once again becoming Gunchester? The city has already got a bad reputation for its crime and drug problems stemming from the 1990s. The question needs to be asked, is Manchester under the gun?
We have gangs. You have no choice, you have to join your side. If you don't join your side, you are in serious trouble. I can show many examples of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different gangs nowadays. Every person wants to start their own gang and they want to be a leader of their own gang.
The majority of people live in these areas and they don't really get in any trouble, they don't really get great contact with the police.
I haven't done anything to nobody and nobody should hopefully do anything to me. I mean, I'm innocent until proven guilty.
I think the neighbourhood I live in, it's Whalley Range, but there's different parts of Whalley Range. I think the neighbourhood I live in is the quiet part, and it's not really that much. There's not really that many robberies or violence, anything in the area. But in other parts of Whalley Range, there's a lot of violence and a lot of things going on. Yeah, there's a lot of different gangs nowadays. Every person wants to start their own gang and they want to be a leader of their own gang. So there's like many different gangs started, like, and it splits into groups nowadays. Like some are Asian, the Asian gangs, there's black gangs, there's white gangs, and some Old Trafford gangs, Whalley Range gangs. There's a lot of different gangs nowadays. Whereas probably 5-6 years ago there was only like Whalley Range gangs, Old Trafford gangs. It doesn't matter. Now it matters about the race, about what colour they are, and split into gangs through the races, and that's a big problem in Manchester.
So, you know, these gangs, do you think these gangs are leading Manchester back to the days of times like when Manchester used to be remembered as Gunchester?
I think they are at the end of the day, because every day there's a new person. Even little kids are starting to join gangs, and every day a person gets shot, a person gets harmed because of these gangs, and they've got gun wars out there. So I think it's bringing it back.
I put some of these concerns to Ray, a young man who's lived all his life in Moss Side.
If there was someone new coming into Manchester, what would you tell them about your neighbourhood?
I would tell them anything really, like anything about the neighbourhood, the parks, the leisure centre, the food places, the eating area. I wouldn't really tell them about how bad it could be, because then again, everywhere's bad, everywhere's good, you know what I mean? So it's not really a bad area, it's like a don't go zone. It's just when you get a lot of stupid people running around thinking they are, then you're gonna get a bit of hassle. But then again, you get that everywhere else, don't you? It's not really that much of a bad neighbourhood. It's just got a really bad reputation from the previous years, from say 20-30 years down the line. So it's not really that bad when you think about it, because obviously you've got youths running around everywhere in all other estates. So I don't really see this one as much different.
What was your reaction when you heard about Jesse James dying? How did you feel about it?
It was just shock more than anything, because I used to go to school with him, and I seen him actually 2 days before in the shop. When I was going to shop and I seen him, I had a quick word about him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." And then like 2 days later, my mum said, "Oh, Jesse's been shot dead," and it's just stupid, because like I used to hang around with that lot a few years ago, so it's like that could have been me type thing. It could have been anyone, because they were just walking home from a party, and then all of a sudden his life's gone.
Do you think Manchester has a gang problem?
Yeah, to a certain extent, yeah, but I wouldn't have really said they were gangs. They're more like using areas. I wouldn't have thought they were like majorly doing stuff, just little petty people doing little petty crimes. They're not really like going into prison and going into jail for like bunches of 5 and 6 and still coming out and more going in. It's just like 16-17 year olds doing stupid stuff really, and they're getting caught for it. They're thinking they're big and hard and whatever, and it's just putting other people in my side down really.
Do you feel that, you know, young people around the neighbourhood, do you think they feel pressurised to join gangs and stuff?
Well, the young people around the neighbourhood, aren't really pressurised because it's their own choice. At the end of the day, they're not being forced into it by other lads. It's just a bunch of lads saying, do you want to walk around together? Do you want to hang around together? Do you want to hang around the corner shop? They're not really necessarily going to be causing trouble day in, day out. Maybe once or twice every 2 weeks. And it's just because they do a little petty stuff by robbing a corner shop or whatever they're doing, having a street robbery and stuff like that. They're labelled a gang. If I wanted to walk around with, say, 4 or 5 of my mates from around here, technically I would be in a gang, so to speak. So I don't think people are being pressurised to go in it. It's just what they naturally do. They hang around in numbers. I think it's just what comes natural, because you don't really want to be walking around alone on the estate, really, just in case something does happen.
We've heard what young people in Manchester think of its reputation, but what about the older generation, particularly those involved in youth work and other community issues?
Every country has got a gang problem. Every city has got a gang. I cannot see the idea that you don't have a gang, but this is what I mean. I mean, young people get together, they play together, they grow up together, they will defend each other, they will stand up for each other's rights. You know, because they understand, they sympathize, they empathize with each other. They're part of the same vernacular. So how are they not going to be formed in association with each other? I think gangs is sort of when you apply it to inner city areas, you tend to think of young people doing wrong things. I do not see that. You know, I think that, you know, you can have a gang of kids that come out of Oxford or Cambridge, or a gang that come out of, you know, the army or something. You know, there's always gangs. You know, whether you want to stigmatize them or not.
It's a safe area to live. It's no more serious crime happening there than any average place. Majority of people live in these areas and they don't really get in any trouble. They don't really get great contact with the police. Hence, most of the bad press that we're getting is from people who come from outside the area, who slanting the area down. They don't live in the area, so they say, well, it's Gunchester. They don't live in the area, so let's call it a ghetto. You know, I'm not going to that ghetto. I mean, well, I've never really been to a ghetto, but those that I've seen on the TV, right, are nothing like Manchester. So, you know, you need to get your perspective right before you start talking about places.
Do you see Manchester going back to the ways of when, in the mid-90s, it got the nickname Gunchester? Do you see it going back to that kind of...
The media's brought that up themselves, yeah. But it's not only happening in Manchester. I mean, you can look at other areas, you know, in Great Britain. Nottingham has quite a high gun crime rate amongst sort of teenagers, not just young black teenagers, but teenagers in general. But for some reason, Manchester has that special hold.
How do you see things progressing in the neighbourhood for the future?
Well, I think it's just going to be looking better and better for the future, because it's like we've been up and down for the past few years now, and recently it's been getting really, really good again. But until, you know, Jesse James got shot and he obviously died, and I think that's just a reminder to say, like, innocent lives are at stake here. And we need to really change our lives, otherwise more and more innocent people are going to be dying.